Hey everyone, how's it going? Azren here, owner of the Calgary Language Nerds. And today we're going to do something that I've been wanting to do for a very, very long time. And it's a French pronunciation master class. My favorite thing to teach people is pronunciation. I love teaching pronunciation so much that for years I've actually considered starting a business that specifically teaches pronunciation. For French in particular, I've actually legitimately considered starting a business that only teaches the French R. No grammar, no conversation, no nothing. Just a business where I only teach you the French R. Um, all of that to say, I love teaching pronunciation, and that is what we're going to focus on today. So French has a few different sounds that are tricky to pronounce. But the good news is, after today's video, they're going to be significantly easier. We'll kick things off with arguably one of the hardest letters to pronounce in French. And that one, of course, is the French R. Now, in order to pronounce the French R, I'm going to stop my screen share. There are a few different ways you can practice. My favorite way, take some water. Let's do this together right now. Take some water like this. Oh, hang on. There we go. Take some water. Take a sip. Once you take a sip, you're going to gargle. Watch me. You're going to do that. Okay. And you're going to practice that a few times. So do it once, do it again. Practice over and over. Get used to that feeling. Gradually take smaller and smaller sips. So smaller and smaller sips as you go until you only have a tiny amount of water in your mouth. That feeling of gargling water literally is the French R. That's that. Now, how do we practice this? How do we put this into practice? Let me share my screen again. So if we break this down into steps, because I love step-by-step instructions. So let's get something to write with here. Perfect. And let's clip this microphone somewhere so I can type with both hands. That'll be faster. Kind of funny. I like to hold the microphone in my hand, but that's okay. For now, we'll just clip it. So step one, we're going to practice gargling. Right? Gargling is the first step to learning the French R. Step two, we're going to look at words that have a CR combination. My favorite one to start with is just croix. So remember, when you say croix, you're going to picture, really imagine yourself gargle when you say the word croix. Croix, 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 croix. It should feel very uncomfortable. It should feel very odd. Step three, we're going to move on to the word trois with a TR. You'll often find that words with a TR in French are harder to pronounce than a CR. Step four, we're going to move on to multi-syllable words. I like, for example, théâtre is a good one to practice. Théâtre. Step five, we're going to look at some words that have what's called a voiced French R. French actually has 2 or 3 different R sounds. So we're going to start with the word grand. Grand might feel a little bit harder to say. Step 6, we're going to practice with the word roi. That'll be a little bit trickier to say. Roi. Step 7, we're going to look at the word garder. Garder is a bit trickier because that R in garder, those AR combinations in French are a little bit trickier for people to really nail that combination right. Garder. It's a bit of a softer R. It's not like garder. It's not like it's really, there's no monster sounds being made, just nice and soft. Garder. Step 8, we're going to go to the word regarder. Regarder, that's step 8. That'll be a little bit trickier. In step 9, we're going to look at another word, which is this pure. Pure. So these are the 9 steps. If you just practice these 9 steps, step 1 is this gargle, get used to gargling. Then practice the word croix, then trois, then théâtre, then grand, then roi, then garder, then regarder, then pur, right? Pur. You practice these nine steps. You do that regularly. Even within 7 days, you're going to notice a really big difference. A really big difference. For me, when I was learning to pronounce the French R, because I couldn't pronounce it, this is pretty much the process that I followed, and I was able to get a near perfect. I was able to get a gist of the French R really fast, maybe like a week or 2 weeks, something like that. And I had near mastery of the French R after a matter of months, like 1 month, 2 months. Like it wasn't that long. And I was someone, for context, I couldn't pronounce the French R for like 10 years. And then someone taught me pretty much this process, and it made it significantly easier. And I've actually facilitated this exact process with many of my students, and it works almost without fail. It works a very high percentage of the time. So another sound that's really difficult in French, when we look at French pronunciation, let me stop my screen share. The other thing that's really tough about French pronunciation is nasal vowels. We have a number of nasal vowel sounds, which for people it's often difficult for people to pronounce them. We have three primary French nasal vowel sounds. We have un, we have on, and we have on. Un, on. There's a few different approaches to learning these sounds. I'll walk you through all of them. You can pick the one that works for you. I've done these with people pretty frequently, and they work. They just work. Okay. So the first one, if you're a musical type of person, you can make a song out of un, on. You can make it 3 blind mice. Un, on. Un, on. If that doesn't work for you, we have another approach we can use is where we look at the mouth shape. And you remember not what the sound sounds like, but rather what it feels like with your mouth. So when you have the sound, is kind of like the word, like in the word vin, like wine, for example. So in the word vin, or for example, linge for laundry. You know, these words, pay attention to my mouth shape. It's like somewhat open this way and somewhat open this way, somewhat open up and down, somewhat open left to right. It's this it's almost like I'm smiling, honestly. Look, you can actually see my face kind of smile. The mouth shape is one thing you can use to help you to say that sound correctly. When we move to the next vowel sound, which is on, look at the mouth shape difference. Much more smiling happening, and my mouth is a bit more closed, but it's more round, right? More of an oval, more of a circle. Oval, circle. So in on, we have a word like don, right? Or danser, like dance or inside, don, right? That's a word. That's an nice round mouth. The last one is on, and this is probably the easiest one to pronounce, honestly. There's no body mechanics to really understand. All we need to do is barely open your mouth. Keep your open your mouth like this much, like half of a millimeter. If you barely open your mouth and make noise, like you're just pretend you're like what are you, like a caveman or something? You're gonna be a like you're really tough or something. I don't know, right? You just barely open your mouth and make noise, almost like it's gonna come out of your nose. Look, my mouth is barely open. That's how we say that sound. We just barely open our mouth, and that often does it for people, just barely opening your mouth. Now, if that strategy isn't working for you, there are some other ways to get nasal vowels right. My favorite one, if you just want to get the feeling or just get the sound of it, for the vowel sound, I want you to say egg. Yeah, that'll do it. Egg, like you're gonna say plug your nose. That is that sound. Another variant that works pretty much the same way is say the word like no, sorry, not excuse me. Say like an Anne of Green Gables, or the name Anders, or and and plug your nose. That gives you pretty much the right sound. If you want to say on, like in danser, for example, same concept. We're going to say aw, like aw, so cute. Aw, and plug our nose. Aw, 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 aw. And that's a very straightforward way to say that sound. Again, these nasal vowels are not that tricky. It's not really that bad, frankly. Yeah, it's really not too bad. Yeah, we can 100% do it. The final thing we'll talk about in today's French pronunciation masterclass is we'll talk about something which is, it's like liaison, but a 201 version of it. So let me share my screen here, and I'll clip my microphone over here so I can have both my hands. Here we go. Okay, cool, perfect. Okay, so the French language has something called liaison. Now, anyone who's learned French for a little bit of time, you might already know about this. I'll type it on the screen here. Liaison. So like a really common one is if you wanted to say, I'm just gonna restart my screen share 1 second. Hang on, I got a weird thing happen. Okay, I think we're good now. So in French, we have liaison, right? Liaison, which I was saying a second ago. So we have, for example, LIA, liaison, okay? So if we have something like je ai, which means I have, we actually don't say je ai. We blend those two words together. Sorry for clapping my hands. That might be kind of loud, but right. So je ai actually becomes j'ai, right? We blend the two together, and that is liaison. Many French learners already know about this. Another example is like je te aime, I love you, or I like, well, yeah, I love you, becomes je t'aime, je t'aime. Oops, spelled like this. Not je te aime, it's je t'aime. Now, what's tricky about French pronunciation is not tricky, but one thing that almost nobody ever teaches you, which this blending of words being squished together, this actually happens not just before vowels. So here, like je ai, we have a vowel in je, right? And we have a vowel in a. So then we blend them together. That's usually when this liaison happens. But this also happens with consonants. Let me show you an example. The most classic example of this, which actually sometimes is taught by French teachers, is je suis. Frequently is pronounced like this, je suis, or even easier, suis. Like the J, E, je, the E in the letter E in je is erased. Je suis Canadien, right? No, you could say je suis Canadien, but frequently people get rid of that E. So it's je suis Canadien. So when we have, let me stop my screen share. What you may not realize is when you have get my microphone in my hand, when we have two letter words in French that end in an E, je, le, de, te, me, even a three-letter word like que, Q-U-E, right? These words that end in an E, the vast majority of the time, very, very, very often, when we're speaking, we actually drop that E. We don't pronounce it. So me saying something like je crois, we were practicing our French R earlier. So je crois. Frequently, people don't say je crois. they will blend it together and say je crois. Instead of saying, I don't know, beaucoup de personnes, a lot of people, they're going to say beaucoup de personnes, beaucoup de personnes. The E in de is cut out. And they do that even if they talk slowly. Like even if a French person is talking slowly, that's just a natural thing they frequently do with their words. The final thing I'll say today, I know that was supposed to be the final thing, but I have one last final thing that's actually very important. So the number one thing, if you wanted to have excellent French pronunciation, if you wanted to have really even good French pronunciation, the number one thing that I would recommend you do is not obsess so much about the sounds of the language. Like, oh my God, pronouncing the R, pronouncing this, like, oh, it's all tricky. Like, it's not so much about that, although, of course, you're welcome to work on those individual sounds. But really, the thing to focus on is rhythm. It's the rhythm and the flow of the French language. Now, for those of you that have a good intuitive ear for it, just pay attention to how French intonation is really different from English. There's a lot more ups and downs in French than there are in English. If your brain doesn't work that way, you're like, what? Azren, what are you talking about? I'll give you a super, like one really easy tip that'll just pretty much give you a lot of that natural French intonation. Emphasize the last syllable of words. If you do that, I have a story. I taught a French student once who had wonky pronunciation, like really, really wonky. And all we really focused on was emphasizing the last syllable of words. Often when people have wonky pronunciation in French, and they're an English native speaker, they're often emphasizing not the last syllable of words. That's what they're not doing that. So you have to emphasize the last syllable of the word. So something like, I don't know, like my name in English, my name is Azren. As is emphasized. Azren. Azren. It's loud at the beginning. Azren. But in French, it's Azren. Azren, right? It's the end it's emphasized. Azren. It's not Azren. That makes me sound Italian or something. Like it's Azren, right? English, Azren. French, Azren. And if you do that ren, that kind of like this kind of motion I'm doing at the ends of words, that's going to give you a lot of that right intonation in French. Oh my God, I have so many more French things I want to tell you. I've actually one last one. This is actually the last one, okay? People really struggle with, I love pronunciation. I could teach you pronunciation for like 7 hours straight. I'm not even joking. A lot of people in French, they often struggle with the U sound, the letter U, okay? Now, the thing about the letter U is, and this is the weirdest thing ever about the letter U, people think that the letter U, like in tu or du or vu, people think it sounds like ooh, like in the word, I don't know, tout, like all, right? Tout, Toute, tout, right? But it's actually a wildly different sound. I know they sound similar, but in the mouth, with mouth mechanics, they're not similar at all. If you want to say the French U, I can force your mouth to say it right now. I've worked with people that couldn't pronounce the letter U in French for like 5 years. And then I just give them these instructions and I'm like, ta-da, you can now pronounce it. Here's what you do. Ready? It's weird, but it works. Ready? Step 1. I want you to say E like this. E. Okay. Next, step 2. You're going to round your lips like you're kissing a frog. Like this. Maybe not that much, actually. That's too much. That's too much rounding. If you're watching the video, that's too much probably, but just like that. Like really, really quite tight. Okay. Now, when it's tight, not like crazy tight, but like medium tightness around the lips. Like this. Right. After you're doing this, I want you to, while you do this, while your mouth is like this, I want you to try and say E. But keep your mouth like this, okay? So try very hard to say E. Try all your might to say E. Try very hard. Like really try and say E with all, like don't try and say ooh or U. I want you to try very hard to say E. But keep your mouth like this when you try and say it. And when you do that, you're going to get E. You get the right sound. So the secret to saying the French U is not to try and say U. The secret to saying the French U is to try and say E, but you must keep your lips like this. And if you do that, you're going to get the right sound. So those are some of my favorite, like honestly, what we covered today, like honestly, those things right there, the French intonation, Azren, right? The ending of things being emphasized, the U, the nasal vowels, right, and plugging your nose, right, understanding the mouth, like what shape to make with your mouth when you say those vowels, the gargling, right, the with the water. Like if you just get those fundamentals right, like those ones there, honestly, that really gives you great pronunciation in French. Like that's really those are the core things. There's other things too, obviously, but that's like the heart of the matter. Based on what people struggle with that I've seen over the past, Lord, 18 plus years, something like that. So anyway, hope that was useful. I know that was useful. So anyway, have a wonderful rest of your day. And anything else? If you do, by the way, if you want me to review, if you want me to review like one on one over Zoom, your French pronunciation, I'll put a Google form link for you in the description of the video. I'll put it somewhere. Fill out that Google form, right? Fill out that Google form. Write in the comments, French, I don't know, French pronunciation review, and then I'll send you a link to book that in with me. Have a good day. See you. Bye.